Every RPG, adventure, or survival game has one essential feature: a health system. It's the backbone of gameplay mechanics, which is why it's crucial to build a strong and reliable foundation. In this video, I'll walk you through creating a fully modular and easy to implement health and damage system that you can use for any of your projects. It's really easy to build upon and works well with other systems like level scaling and character stats. And this is actually the system that I use for my personal project called Songs of Radiance, which I'll be posting devlogs on very soon. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call it tutorial. I'm going to go in and create another folder for blueprints and another folder for components. And this is where our health and damage component is going to be. So we're going to right click, we're going to select blueprint class and actor component right here. So we're going to call it BPC for blueprint component and health and damage system. If you haven't worked with blueprint components before, you can think of them as building blocks of code that you can put onto any blueprint. And that's what we're going to use today. So we're going to go ahead and open it up, and we're going to go ahead and create 3 more graphs. So health graph, damage graph, and death graph. And in the health graph, we're going to make a custom event. I'm going to call this begin play health. And we're going to call this on begin play, and we're going to do the same for damage. Custom, so damage begin play damage. So we're going to go to begin play, and we're going to call begin play health and begin play damage. Begin play. And that's pretty much all we're going to have for the main event graph here. We're going to be doing all our work in these 3 graphs down here. So let's move on to the health graph. We're just going to add 2 variables. They're going to be max health and current health. So these 2 variables are going to be floats. Compile and save, and I'm going to set the default value for max health to 100. We're going to make it instance editable and exposed on spawn. And for current health, we're going to make it replicated for multiplayer. So in begin play, we want to drag off current health from the variables list, and while holding Alt, you let go, and it's going to create a setter for current health. So now we want to set current health to max health. And now we want to get owner. So the owner for this is the owner of the blueprint component. So it could be the player or a character or whatever. And we're going to promote this to a variable, call it owner. And this is all we're going to have for the begin play for the health graph. Or just begin play. And now we're going to move on to the damage graph. So in the damage graph, I'm going to start off with 2 custom events. The first one's going to be called take damage instant. All right. And the second one is going to be called check after damage. So for this custom event, we're going to add a couple inputs. The first one's going to be damage, and the second one is going to be damage causer. So damage is going to be a float, and damage causer is going to be an actor reference. So actor and object reference. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to check if the damage is greater than 0. And we're going to add a branch. So a shortcut for branch is you hold B and you left click. And we're going to plug this into the branch. So next, we're going to add another branch. So if the damage is greater than 0, so if he actually did take damage, we're going to check is dead. So we're going to add another boolean. And this is going to be replicated as well. So compile and save. And we're going to drag this in, hold control, and you'll get a getter. And now drag off and not boolean. So we're checking if the character is actually taking damage and if he's still alive. So if both of them are true, we're going to create a new function, and we're going to call it handle damage taken. So we're going to head back into this graph, and we're going to call the function handle damage taken. So now we're going to go ahead and create 2 new inputs. So this is going to be damage causer again, and this is going to be damage. And this is going to be a float. So it's the same as the take damage instant, and we're just going to plug them in. Alright, so now this is pretty much done. I'm going to comment it and take a damage instant. And now we're going to move back to the health graph. So now we're going to add another custom event. And we're going to call this adjust health. And adjust health is actually going to be run on server and reliable. And this is what's going to let us use it for multiplayer. So we're going to add 3 new inputs. Adjustment is damage and damage causer. So adjustment is going to be float, is damage is going to be a boolean, and damage causer is going to be an actor reference. So compile and save. And we're going to head back into the function real quick, and we're going to actually multiply this damage by -1. And I'll show you why we do that in a second. And now we're just going to call adjust health. So this will go into adjustment, damage causer into damage causer, and is damage will be true. So that's all for this function. Now back into the health graph, we're going to actually populate the custom event. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we want to check is the adjustment damage. So we're going to add another branch. We're going to connect is damage to the condition. And we're actually going to add another boolean called can take damage. So again, B for branch. So if it is damage, we're going to check can the character actually take damage. So we're going to plug that in. So obviously if you want your character to be invulnerable, you want this to be off or false, but for now we're going to leave it on. And this will be instance editable and exposed on spawn. So now we're going to want to adjust the current health. So I'm going to hold Alt and let go. And so pretty much if the value coming in is damage and the player can take damage, we're going to change the health. So we want to create a clamp. And we want to grab the current health, add it. We want to add the adjustment to current health. And this is going to go into value, and the minimum value will be 0 because the health will never go under 0, and the maximum will be max health. So this just makes sure that the new value here will never go under 0 and over max health. So if is damage is false, it means that the adjustment is going to be healing. So we still want to adjust the health. So we're going to drag false and connect it to the set current health. So now after that's done, we're going to add another branch. and we're going to add another boolean called can die. So compile and save. I'm going to make this true, and I'm going to check if the character can die. We're going to set the value for is dead, and we're actually going to set it using current health. So if current health is equal to 0, and it'll never be less than 0 because of this clamp, we're going to set it to is dead. And if this is false, is dead is going to be false too. So now we want to create another branch. We're going to connect this, and the condition for this is going to be is damage. So now we want to create a couple of event dispatchers. So the first one we're going to want to make is health changed, and we're going to create another one called character healed, and another one for damage taken. So we're going to call health changed just after we set the new health. I'm going to move this over a bit, and we're going to call this here. So whenever we change the value of current health, we're going to call event call health changed. So what this branch does is it checks if is damage is true. So if is damage is false, we're actually just going to call the event dispatcher. So call character healed. And if it's true, we're going to call the custom event that we made earlier called check after damage. So we're going to add a couple of inputs for check after damage. So in here, we want to add 2 inputs. One is going to be the damage causer, and the second one is dead. So the damage causer, we're going to link it up to the damage causer here. And is dead into is dead. So that'll be all for adjust health. So adjust health. And we actually want to call the damage taken right after we call check after damage. So now in check after damage, what we want to do is we want to add a branch. So if, and we're going to connect it to is dead. So if is dead is true, we want to check if the damage causer is valid. So another branch here connected to true. And I'm going to check if the damage causer is valid. And now we're going to go to the death graph. We want to make 2 custom events. So we're going to call this initiate death _ ROS. And the other one is going to be death _ multicast. So this is going to be run on server from adjust health, because that's run on server and that calls initiate death ROS. And this will call death multicast. So we're going to set this to multicast here. So call death multicast. So now we're going to make another function called handle death. So handle death. And we're going to go back real quick and we're going to call handle death. That's pretty much it. So multicast death and ROS death. In handle death, for now we're just going to do a very simple destroy actor. So we're going to get the owner, get a reference to the owner, and destroy actor. So in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to have custom death for different characters. So if you want your player to do something when they die that's different to an enemy, I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video. So now we're going to go back to the damage graph. So if the owner is dead, that's true, and if the damage causer is valid, we're going to initiate death ROS. Alright, so with that out of the way, we can go ahead and go to the player character. We're going to open them up, and to add the component, go under components and press add and just type in health damage. You're just going to see one. This is the one I made. So just add the component and it's ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a keyboard event. So keyboard event, I'm just going to click 1. And what I want to do is when I press 1, I want the player to take damage. So I'm going to drag off of this, get a reference to the component, and we're just going to call take damage instant. So here, and we're going to take 10 damage every time, or I'm going to do 25. And after that, I'm going to print the current health. So I'm going to drag off of the component and get current health and print it in here. And finally, we want to add a reference to self for the damage causer. And compile and save, and we can go ahead and test that in game. I'm going to press play, and when I press 1, you can see on the top left, it's 75, and 50, 25, and then the player is dead. So that's all for this video. In my next video, I'll be showing you guys how to implement health regen, healing, custom death, and a basic attack system. Thanks for watching. I really hope this helped you, and stay tuned for the next part.